Okay, so it's 7 on point. So we're gonna start. Today we have the wonderful Andy with us. Andy, I know him for a couple months already, and we have worked together, and it's been really great because when he brings his wisdom and his like just complete presence there, it's just magic what happens. I cannot describe it any other way. Um, so I'm really, really happy that he's here right now, that he's here today, that he's gonna share this beautiful topic with all of us. And after the class, you're more than welcome to ask any questions, or during the class, I'm gonna be here, so I'm gonna save all the questions so we can ask Andy after that anything that comes up. Um, you are also more than invited to write in the chat. I'm going to be also here if you want to send any comment, questions, anything that comes up. I'm really happy here also to check what you're writing. Yes. And after that, I'm going to give you a little surprise, a little gift from all of us. So if you want to keep working with us, or you want to come and go deeper in your inner evolution process, you're more than welcome to take this gift at the end of the class. So yes, so without any other things to say, I'm really excited to have all of you here. Here's Andy. Andy, you wanna start?
Hello, thank you, Magda. So, good evening to everyone. Yeah, my name's Andy. I'm originally from England, and I've been involved with this organization for 7 years now, and I've been a facilitator for the last 5 years, mostly working in Ireland, but as Philip mentioned, he knows me from Romania. I've worked in many of our retreats across Europe, and I'm currently in Turkey. This is where I live at the moment. We also do retreats here. And I'm actually going on holiday tomorrow to the south east of Turkey, near Antalya. And so this is like my last little thing I'm doing tonight, and then I fly early tomorrow. So if you catch me kind of like looking out in the distance, I'm really just reflecting on what I'm going to say. I have a beautiful view outside my room here. I'll try and look to the camera though as much as possible. So yeah, so the topic of this masterclass or forum is kind of ironic because the topic says very clearly, very plainly, um, don't acquire more knowledge. Like that's our jumping off point for the class, let's say. But ironically, a class is something where you learn something, right? Or something where you gain some understanding or something new or what have you. And so I want to start by kind of understanding what this kind of provocative phrase is actually saying. That it's not just a command as such or something you need to follow. But, because the second half of the phrase is do not acquire more knowledge, because by doing so it removes you or distances you or cuts you off from your innate wisdom, which is something very different. So to start, let's kind of get a sense of what we're talking about when we talk about knowledge. And I wanted to define it in three different categories, let's say. So the first one would be knowledge. This is the point of the topic. This is almost akin to food in a way. Or you could even go so far as to say addiction. It's this need, it's this desperate need, it's this accumulative, gluttonous kind of attempt to grasp more and more and more. That we're being so full, so overfull, so overwhelmed by so much of what I'm calling here knowledge, right? And you can look at this in media and social media, in entertainment, on Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever thing. It's like this constant barrage of stuff. Um, and this link to food is something interesting we'll come back to later. But then there's something that's a little bit different, which is more like learning or inquiry, science, generally speaking, um, kind of like development, let's say, which is a process of kind of taking things from the outside in some way, but somehow different from this first one. And then the third one would be this innate wisdom that the premise of this topic uh, references, this innate wisdom that has a more spiritual quality. So those are the kind of three categories, and we're going to kind of move through those and explore those tonight. So I mentioned that there's this interesting link where you could see knowledge uh, akin to akin to food. So have you ever seen those kind of like mythical folkloric characters in Asian media or Asian folklore? They're called the hungry ghosts. And if you've never seen them before, they're like these kind of entities with huge mouths, huge stomachs, but like a very, 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 very thin uh, esophagus, right? So they can consume a lot. They have such a large stomach. They need a lot, but it's impossible for them to be truly nourished. And this is how I kind of think about one way you could think about um, how we're relating to constantly gaining more information. Um, and it also relates to this food thing as well. It's interesting if you stop and think about, at least in English, but I'm sure it exists across all languages, there's so many references to taste and flavor as points of understanding. Um, so something leaves a bad taste. You feel it in your gut. Um, what's the flavor of this situation, right? We use this as a kind of a metaphor to appreciate something. And it's, of course, very instinctual, very primal, being a sense, being one of the senses that we have, um, to relate it to this like receiving, tasting, um, and something about our language kind of intuitively knows this thing. Um, now, I won't go into it too much here, but if there's any Spanish speakers, you'll know that there's this interesting link, and it comes from Old Latin, where the verbs of knowing something and tasting something are very similar, and they come from the same root. So in English, we don't have this, but in our phrases, in our expressions, we're capturing something about the fact that knowledge, information that in some way we're storing in the memory, hoping to use it again and again and again, is almost akin to the process of consuming food. I also mentioned that in a way it's like an addiction. And to that end, I want to talk about it more in terms of the role it serves, rather than anything to do with the knowledge itself, in the sense that it doesn't matter what the topic is. It's not that if you go searching or go acquiring or questing for more knowledge uh, about one topic or the other, there's any difference, even though the topics themselves might be completely different. right? So it doesn't matter if what we're talking about is, something scientific or something spiritual. It doesn't matter if we're talking about personal knowledge, or even knowledge about the world, or more grander things like the mysteries of life or the universe. And of course, you can go looking for these anywhere and everywhere. Um, I do it also. Like my personal, I have some personal, what do you call them? Guilty pleasures, or like, side interests about, UFOs and ancient Egypt and artificial intelligence and all these super interesting topics that are so in flux in the world today. And I don't think there's any clear, definitive answer in any of them. Um, but yeah, you could go looking forever. I don't know how many documentaries I've seen, how many podcasts I've listened to, and how many more I'll listen to again, right? The topic isn't so important here. Uh, what's important is the role that this questing or searching um, for more knowledge, what role it serves in your life. And what I noticed in my own life is that the times when I was, watching these documentaries or listening to these podcasts or what have you, um, it's usually in like a slightly down moment. Um, it's almost like I'm looking for this to fill something. Like I'm hoping that there will be some answer or some revelation even, that will give me something. That this looking for more knowledge is trying to acquire more and more. It's like we're looking for something in it that's much deeper than the thing itself. We're almost like projecting a hope into each topic, right? Because I might be questing for knowledge in this category, and you're looking for it in a different one, and this person's looking for it somewhere else. But they're all kind of birthed from the same impulse. And it's the hope that there's something in this that can really transform my life, or save me, or take me away from where I am right now. Um, and again, as this topic references, there is this kind of understanding that there's no need to do that, because that innate wisdom is already with you, but you're looking for it, or I'm looking for it in aliens or Egypt or whatever it may be. So, to kind of reference a little bit this how this plays out, um, between like the collective level and on the individual level. And of course, on the individual level, I'm only going to be talking about myself, but perhaps you can see some similarity or some commonality in your own life. So on the widest level, um, with humanity, with society, we've really went deep into this quest for knowledge, into this scientific endeavor, into the world. And the outcomes of this are really profound, of course. Even just where we are right now, but where we may be going in years and decades and centuries, it's kind of unimaginable. Um, but despite all we've achieved, there's also a deep misalignment, in our relationship with the world, with nature, and of course with each other and with ourselves. Um, I don't know if I can answer why humanity went on this path. Like, why did this happen? I mean, all throughout human culture and myth and civilization, all our stories and our origin myths and our tales that have lasted for centuries or millennia speak of this like lost place or this lost time that we fell out of something, you know. And in a way, what we fell into was this seeking that has always been there in some level. We're just seeing it more and more accelerated in our modern world. Um, and of course, you know, for example, if you look at modern medicine, um, I'm sure many of you can imagine or even recall a time in your life or in someone that you know in their life when something about modern medicine was hugely beneficial, perhaps even life-saving. Um, but the interesting thing is that many ailments, many diseases, many health conditions in the first place are created by the very circumstances that gave rise to our kind of modern medicine. It's kind of like all of our accomplishments that you could point to and say, hey, well, actually, acquiring more knowledge has a place. It can be a good thing because look at all these things you can do. Um, it's kind of like if you're seeing the world from that problem-oriented mindset, solution-oriented mindset, like looking for how to fix things, looking for the problem, you're gonna find them. You're gonna find the problems. You're gonna create many of them, and probably you're not gonna create as many solutions to all the problems you're finding. At least from this old perspective or this current perspective that exists. Um, but on the individual level, we can talk about it a little bit more in depth, or at least, you know, I can reference myself a little bit more in depth. Um, I mentioned that there were times in my life when I could see, like, oh yeah, I spent all Sunday watching documentaries about, again, whatever topic, you know. And on reflection, I was kind of feeling low that day. I was kind of hoping that this would change something somehow. Um, but on the larger picture, uh, why did I go seeking for knowledge in my own life? Before I did all of this, I was a mathematician, so very scientific, very mathematical, logical uh, mindset. And it's so clear to me now. Of course, I had no idea of this back then, but it's so clear to me now where that initial impulse to be a mathematician even came from. And of course, probably is no surprise that it's something deeply emotional, something related to early experience. Um, and so I was, you know, a kid like anyone, wanting to impress and seek the approval of those people important to me, mostly mom and dad, but family in general. And I can still remember like being 5 or 6 years old and being completely enthralled and so excited by the excitement of my family when they saw that I was good at adding and counting and multiplying. And somehow, even my maths degree that I got when I was 25 is just an extension of that. And of course, there's so much to a life. You can't reduce it down to just this one thing, but the roots of why we're looking for something in the first place are important to reflect on. And I like this idea in in healing, in the healing process of of understanding and appreciating the fact that oftentimes we're trying to we're trying to bargain with the universe. We're trying to find like a shortcut. We're trying to find the easy way out. We're trying to control things. Um, we're trying to find something that's that's different from what deep down we know that we. It's like deep down we know what what we want to say, what we want to do, where we need to go, what we need to let go of. Uh, but we're seeking for like alternate opinions or perspectives, like other ways out. And you guys may be familiar with Alan Watts, and one thing he always spoke about really stuck with me. It's like a guy goes to some Zen master and says, "Hey, how do I get out of the rat race? Right? How do I get away from having to wake up every morning and I put on my shoes and I tie my tie and I go to work? How do I get out of there?" And the Zen master says, "Well, you wake up every morning, you tie your shoes, you tie your tie, and you go to work." And of course, in that Zen fashion, in that Alan Watts fashion, there's humor and there's playfulness to it. Um, and there's, of course, a deep spiritual truth in it. He's not just saying, keep doing the same thing that you're doing, right? What he's saying is, there's no escape. But no escape from what? The rat race? No. No escape from some deeper truth. Something that all this knowledge, all this questing, all this seeking, all this attempt to know, to master, to control the world is just taking you away from. And in this regard, our quest for knowledge takes on a different form. It's not this. It's not this drive to accomplish more, or to reach for the stars, or to um, to master the world. It's something. It's something deeply psychological, deeply spiritual. It's something that we're hoping to find, like we're hoping to find some different answer in the one we think we already have. So I want to give you like a really silly example just to illustrate it. Because what is the answer that you think you already have, right? That you're searching in all of this knowledge, all this questing to understand, uh, that you're trying to get away from, right? You have some original position. And so all this seeking is trying to somehow disprove this original idea, this original self-image that you have. So let's imagine that someone is in front of me right now, and they said to me, uh, "Andy, you have like a large green hat on your head, right?" Now, imagine if I then said to this person, Or in response to that, I started to go looking into knowledge, into science, into metaphysics, you know, into psychology. Why did this person say that? What could the possible motivation be to tell me that? Or into some kind of spiritualized metaphysical system. Like, what is the nature of a hat? What is the reason behind wearing headwear? And I went on this huge long quest to kind of like disprove them that I don't really have some big green hat on my head. Obviously, it's ridiculous. It's a silly example, but it's just as, in fact, it's not even as ridiculous as the self-image that every human being is carrying around with them. That we're living our lives with something somewhere in our unconscious that at best is a minimization of your essence, but that's at best. Really, in reality, the self-image that we have of ourselves that we're walking around with, it's not nice, it's not good. It's pretty disfavorable. And we have this image, and it's like we dedicate everything that we do to trying to disprove it, you know, try and demonstrate that I'm not this thing. But I don't need to demonstrate that I don't have this green hat on my head. It just isn't there, right? So what is this endless show, this endless demonstration that I'm not, to prove that I'm not something that I'm not even anyway? And this quest for knowledge is, it's like each avenue of our life to know more, to gain more, to have more control over ourself, our mind, our body, the world, or the people, perhaps different systems, in order to make more money, in order to feel safer. Everything that we're doing in that is coming from this initial misunderstanding of who I think I am. But that's not the only way, of course, right? There is that questing, hungry ghost that believes this negative self-image that I have. But that's not everything, right? That's not this innate wisdom that the premise also references. So what is the difference, right? Because you could listen to "Don't acquire more knowledge" and like take it personally, right? And think that they're saying that I should stop learning, or I should stop developing, or I should stop studying, and of course it's not saying that. What it wants to make a clear break from is this believing that this topic, this search, this thing that you're looking for is going to be the thing that saves you. Um, because deep down, whatever comes into your life that's going to really transform things, that's going to bring such a transformation, such a deep healing, such a new chapter for your life, um, you're not going to be able to miss it. It's going to find you, right? You don't even need to go looking for it. Um, and so there is this very different way of relating to the world that comes from from learning. Or better yet, from playing, right? That I mean, I'm a musician as well, um, and so of course it would be ridiculous to say, don't acquire more knowledge, right? So that you know, don't learn new songs, don't learn new chords, new rhythms, don't practice expanding the range of your voice. Obviously, that's what it's saying. It's that in doing these things, in in learning, in developing, and growing, what it's really doing is deepening, or you could say expanding, or you could say just letting more clear, giving more space to your authentic uh, expression, right? To to give yourself more avenues to express who you really are. So, of course, if you're a musician, or not even if you're a musician, if you want to express yourself musically, then there's going to be an element of learning, of spending time with the fact that this is how you play a guitar, this is how you play piano, this is what a note is, this is what a chord is, this is how they work together. And of course, you can go quite simple or you can go extremely complicated. And of course, there is another way of looking at it. There's a way that says, actually, you don't need any of that. You don't need to learn some system, or you don't need to learn how to play chords. Just pick it up and do it. And like, there is some truth to that, because what it's saying is that if you are authentically expressing yourself, it doesn't really matter how it comes out, you know. That if you're singing or playing or dancing or just being there from your heart, then it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Um, and that is beautiful. But um, it doesn't mean you need to stop there. That if you want to, there is so much avenue, so much possibility to expand it, to deepen it. It's like you could imagine a musician who, in this moment of their life, is somehow blocked or closed emotionally, but they're an excellent musician. Technically speaking, they're an excellent pianist or guitarist or vocalist, and they're able to play things very well, very accurately, and good rhythm, and do very, very complicated things with the instrument. But because of this closing inside, actually what they express isn't even as deep as the person who's totally open with their heart and is just playing the most basic things, that somehow deeper. But then ask yourself, okay, well, then what would happen if you had all that depth with the instrument and the openness? Then where can you go? Then you can do things no one has ever done before. Like, um, you guys, I mean, I guess everyone's probably heard it, but maybe you don't know it by name. There's um there's an opera song, or do you call it a piece? I don't know, but called what is it? Nessun Dorma. It's the famous one by, well, I don't know if it's by Pavarotti, but anyway, he sings it, and it's very well known. And it has this huge crescendo, and at the end, you see the cameras on his face as he lets this like unbelievable, this like incredible vocal expression, and you can see the look on his face and in his eyes. It's like he almost can't believe it himself, like what just came out of him, what he just Uh, thank you, Philip. He just put in the chat there. What he just let out, what just came out of him. And of course, how many days and hours and moments of his life did he practice his voice? And I don't know Pavarotti. I'm not going to try and tell you something about him or speculate something about him, but probably if he was able to do that, it was also coming from a really deep place inside him, that was his soul expressing itself in this incredibly rich way. And so when these two things are married, um, the learning, the development, but the authentic expression. And that's the thing, is that until such time that we're not afraid to be our authentic self, um, and we're still hiding it or repressing it, perhaps. Um, and of course, it's not that it all just happens in one go. It step by step comes out a little bit here, then goes back a bit, then comes out a bit more here, so forth and so on. But until then, when it's closed, um, whatever we're doing, it has again, this hungry ghost, this seeking, this kind of needing to acquire more knowledge. Because it's like you're looking for yourself in that. It's like, again, I'll just give a personal example. You can think about what it might be in your own life, but let's say I'm looking at like ancient mysteries, right? Like how they built the pyramids or whatever, right? All this ancient mysteries. And it's like somewhere in the back of my head, in the back of my mind, I'm imagining like, okay, one day they're gonna find like some ancient library and it's gonna have this lost knowledge and it's gonna say something so divine, that's such a revelation that it's gonna change everything. Okay, maybe that will happen, right? I don't know. But here's the thing. Let's extend that sentence the way it exists in the back of the mind. So someone else is going to find something, some knowledge, some whatever. That's going to change everything. Okay? Here's the extension. Here's the hidden part of that sentence. Such that I don't need to fully realize myself. And that's the rub with it all. Again, at least for me, that's what all this seeking comes down to. It's that, if this guy over here actually figures out that, there's already aliens living on Earth or whatever, then that's my perfect excuse to not fully be who I really truly am. And you could even go so far as to say who I am needed to be by life or the world or even just me, right? Um, and so this searching for not myself, but searching for the excuse to not need to be myself in the knowledge, in the subject, in the discipline, that's one thing. But then if I'm comfortable with just being myself after like a long healing process, let's say, or maybe just a key moment in your life where everything changed. For me, it's taken many, many, many years, and I'm not suggesting that I am completely comfortable with myself. Certainly more than I used to be. But anyway, if you are comfortable or more comfortable being your authentic self, then any avenue is open to play, to explore, to express. That would be the word that I would settle on, right? If you're listening to Alan Watts, you would probably say something like to play, right? I like express. And so in some way I want to kind of like draw this clear line with the premise, because this is an old premise. It comes from Alberto, who was the founder of this organization many, many, many years ago, who died um, almost 2 years ago now. And these premises and what they mean, and the kind of influence that they had on the way that he built and directed the retreats, and of course the trainings that we all went through, uh, of course mean a lot. Uh, but I want to find this like, I want to find what it means to me, not just what it says and then tell you what it says. That would be the ultimate uh, ridiculousness, to go away and research this premise, and then deliver something to you in the form of knowledge that then you can use as an excuse to not be who you authentically are, or something like that. But no, I want to find this like this new way, this new distillation of the premise. And I don't just want to frame it in this like negative way, like do not acquire more knowledge, right? It's provocative, yes, but it's a bit much, It's like comes on strong, let's say. And of course, the part about because it takes you away from your innate wisdom is very sweet, very spiritual, and of course deeply true. But for me, it's more like this. It's more like you only need to seek more knowledge to the degree that you're not yet being your authentic self. That feels more true to me. And to not have it as a rule, right? But to use it as a signpost so that you can look at those lazy Sundays where you're watching 10 alien documentaries in a row and say, why am I doing this? Because I want to know more about aliens? Or is it because I'm looking for some excuse to not be fully, authentically who I really am? And you'll note that I didn't really talk much about this divine truth or this spiritual wisdom, or so on, because what can you say about it? What do you even need to say about it? Wouldn't trying to say something about it be like another form of looking for knowledge? And of course, I don't want to end on something just as trite as, so just be yourself. As I said, years of a healing process to be even as authentic as I am right now, which I'll let you decide on how. Well, no, not you decide, but you have your impression of that, and and I can see the edges of that in my life. Uh, but I would like to close on something meaningful, right? I mentioned at the beginning this fall, this myth, this old story that there was a previous time and we like kind of fell out of it from Eden, at least in the Christian tradition, right? Um, and what we fell into was, seeking knowledge, and more broadly, you could say like the mental realm and the mind, the unconscious mind, not as a problem, not as a villain, certainly not as something to even be overcome. It's just something that like almost all of the focus is on. So what would it mean to come out of that focus, right? Of course, if all of the energy is up here in the head, then we're going to going to be on this seeking knowledge, hungry ghost um, way of doing things. But what happens when not all of the energy is up here? What happens when it drops into the body, into the emotional body, into the felt sensation of being you, right? Because just be is one of those spiritual statements that is vaguely true, but it's more of a realization than something you can just tell to someone. And I can tell you that where I've seen the biggest transformations in my life have come from like getting more into the body, not so I can find the thing that then I need to go and look for the solution for and the whole process again, but to really be in your own body as it is now. And like I specifically and definitively don't want to end on something more grandiose or more poetic or more spiritual sounding than that. Because the truth and the simplicity of your body are the point. Why do we need to dress it up any other way than that? So let's call that the end, yes. And I believe Magda will read out some of the questions and comments from people. And if there's something to say, I will, yeah, I'll say something. So thank you for listening. And I do welcome whatever you would like to talk about.
So, Andy, thank you so much for that wonderful talk. Like, it hit me really hard, a lot of moments. One of them, especially the last part you share about really coming to your body. That has been also my journey, really coming into my body when I feel like I'm in my body, I can be myself when I'm not thinking too much. And for you is music, for me is dancing. So you're in one side and I'm on the other side, and it's beautiful to see that. It's really beautiful. Um, like, guys, if you wanna write the questions, it's easier. Um, who was this? There was Marco. He posted a really, really, really beautiful text. Let's see. Um, yeah, knowledge it's acquired in forms of perceptions, whether it's in a daydream or a night dream. What we believe is what we perceive. Illusions do not need to make things less significant. Do you want to share something about that?
Mm. Yes, I'm looking for the message so I can read it
It is
myself.
up a little bit up. Um, Philip, if you want to write your question, it's easier. Then I read it out loud.
The
Perfect.
one that says risks and side effects, fine print.
Exactly. Like you wrote a beautiful text, but at the beginning, um, like what we believe, it what we perceive. Illusions don't need to make things less significant. You want to say something about that?
Mm-hmm. So learning is easier than unlearning.
Mm.
Knowledge, acquired forms of perceptions. What we believe is what we perceive. Our life seem what we perceive. Mm, yes. Okay, I can tell you this thing. Yeah, so like I'll tell you this. I was at a retreat 1 year ago, and I shared like I was a participant, and I said, I'm going through this thing, and I feel kind of closed to love at the moment in my life, and I don't want to repeat the same patterns of relationships that have happened, all my life, basically. And so I kind of took this conscious decision at the beginning of the year to, yeah, kind of close myself in a way. But now I'm questioning that and I don't know what to do with that. And the facilitator said to me so matter of factly, but Andy, you're no longer in the old way. Like, and I was like, how can she say that? How can she just out and out say that I'm no longer repeating the old patterns? Like, But she said it with so much clarity that I was like, I could not believe it. And then she said, and that's the thing, it's like, do you need to like see it first to then believe it? Or do you need to believe it first before you see it? And it was posed at this kind of like open question of like, yeah, it's kind of like a paradox how it works. Um, I don't know how it works, but what I can tell you is like, like 5 or 6 months later, I met and opened to and fell in love with the woman that I'm with now. So there was a little bit of a delay before I saw it and believed it, or believed it and then saw it, whatever way you want to look at it. Um, but yes, be careful with the idea that learning is easier than unlearning, mm, because that might be a piece of knowledge itself that's reinforcing a particular belief or way of thinking about your life. It's like, it's so much harder to unlearn or let go of the old perceptions than it is to learn new things. Is it? Like, do you know that for sure? Okay, the example you gave about forgetting English is one thing, but I would say language isn't knowledge in the way that we've um, come to learn it and come to have it in our lives. It's not really something we learned in that sense, um, in that same knowledge-seeking sense. Um, so to that end, yes, it would be impossible to just wake up and forget English or unlearn English. But maybe it's a lot easier than we might tell ourselves to let go of these old perceptions that we're carrying. It could also be very challenging. It could be extremely painful. It could totally rupture many things in your life and leave you out naked in front of the universe. Like, what does all of this mean? Maybe. But is that really so much harder than continuing to be lost in your life, seeking for more and more things? I don't know. Probably a lot of these answers will honestly end with I don't know.
Probably like many things, like some things we cannot really know. Um, I think it's easier if you read right now Philip's wonderful text.
Hmm.
That gives you like a context so you can answer.
Yeah. I
Mm.
wish Andy would have said something sooner. That one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Ultimately, the question it is what gives me very much anguish is how I apply this knowledge and how to keep my curiosity from ruining relationships with other people in my life, old and new, because I project them into them.
Mm, yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, yes. Again, describe this questing for knowledge as a hunger. Interesting that not all of them, but many of these metaphors come back to this, yeah, to eating, consuming. In some ways, we are starved. Um, and how many times do we need to go down a path before we've got the message, right? Um, no doubt, Philip. And by the way, I know Philip personally from like maybe even close to a year now and several retreats in Romania. But just to try and talk more generally and not draw too much on what I know about in person. Um, so you're trying to channel this part, this like this interest into something that you perceive as useful. And that's what I was saying towards the end there. It's like every avenue is open for expression when it's uh, coming from an authentic place, from a form of expression. Like, here's me, I want to share myself with the world kind of thing. Or with just one person, right? Um, the concern that you're going to ruin relationships by projecting things onto them is something very different. Like, and again, we were talking about this. The topic doesn't matter. Oh, I wish Andy had mentioned stuff about UFOs earlier, right? He means earlier in our relationship. Sure, we could have a fun conversation about this sometime, Philip, as we have had many fun conversations that have nothing to do with the retreats or, or, you know,
Andy, can you
see, I saw,
slow down? Thank you.
um, yes. But the topic doesn't matter, right? It could be on something else entirely. Um, so don't worry too much about that. The thing to really like investigate would be like, why do I think, or why do I feel that, or where is this concern coming from that I'm going to ruin or project onto relationships? Um, and again, not to go investigating that as though it's a form of knowledge to then learn it and then solve that problem, but to know that what really nourishes you, it it's there, it's in you, it's in the world. You're probably already on track with it, but you're becoming more and more aligned with it. And anything that you're doing right now that feels like it's being ruined, be patient with yourself, please. Be compassionate with yourself, because anything that's worth having, anything that's worth pursuing, anything that's worth really deepening in your life is going to stay no matter what happens. And anything that goes by wasn't meant to be there. Um, yeah.
And how I also see it is like if something is meant to be for you, it's gonna come. It doesn't matter how many time or space it takes. It's just gonna come.
Mm.
Something.
Yes, that was another thread I had in my notes was, okay, so you're seeking for knowledge, but what's truly meant for you is going to find you, you know? And in a way, this questing might even be avoiding it some way. Um, yeah, it's going to find you.
Mm. Do you have a feeling that the going to retreats or the master plans they help you like go to that point, like to be yourself, connect with your body, stop searching,
You mean going to retreats as a facilitator?
or as a
I,
participant?
well, I mean, I started as a participant. I turned it into my job so I could go to retreats every 2 weeks and get paid for it, you know? I mean, no, it's more than that. But no, of course, I am at retreats all the time, uh, because being a facilitator is an extension of being a participant. Like, the retreats have been for me more and more and more over the years, like a platform for my own expression, authentic expression, right? As a person, as an integrator, as a musician. Um, of course, I'm there to support people, right? And I love to see the transformations that happen in the retreats and over time with the people as well. But in some way, it is also for me. Um, and in that sense, I'm deeply grateful. But more and more, the approach with the work is less about trying to understand the process or make sense of it, Um, even the integrations I've done in the last couple of weeks, I like went into feeling more doubt than I'd felt in years because I'm kind of questioning everything that I'm doing and trying to find a new way with it that is more, in the body. Because you can talk about spirituality and psychology and the mind, in such a way that it's true, it's insightful, it may even be meaningful, but it's still dedicating too much energy to the mental and to people more in the emotional body, uh, is what brings a lot more depth and transformation to the process.
I feel it. Yes, yes. So Marcus sharing also so beautiful text, like it's something that science is trying to debate right now.
Mhm,
And the question he has is using UFOs metaphorically is whether how much things shall matter when they are not necessarily be evidentially and concretely present in your life. For example, in the balcony, in the fridge,
mhm,
in, or outside. Dreaming is
yeah,
nice. The dance in the fantasy is wonderful, but in the ones we love to dance with. But in solitude, could things uh, could things that may not seem completely present be a distraction, a game, or use as escape?
mhm. That's how I feel it. Like I mentioned, these lazy Sundays. Um, yes, it's like, and this is the thing. I'm sure there are some people out there who are going to say, "No, I know definitively the truth," and they may do. But um, like, if you look at it broadly, there's no clear answer on any of these topics, right? There's people with interesting perspectives, some evidence, and many, many different perspectives and information. There's almost too much to capture. But forget about UFOs, forget about ancient mysteries, forget about the would-be's and the could-be's of artificial intelligence. These would be my three personal topics, right? Um, just look at science. Just look at cold, hard physics. Um, we've been investigating physics in such a deep way for the last 100 years, and there's no certainty about what it is. Um, and I have a personal theory about that. I think the universe will find infinite ways to keep hiding itself when we're looking for it with this perspective, with this, like, I need to know this for some, reason related to not wanting to be myself or what have you. I'm looking for myself in this thing. It's going to find infinite levels of reality and infinite complexities to shift and mold itself that we'll only ever get a small window of. Marcus mentioned Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which we're not going to go into here. And I don't even know it so well, even as a mathematician. But the short version is you can't prove everything within a given system. Um, so, yes, it doesn't even work. The very thing it's setting out to do doesn't even work. So, if it's not working on the grandest scale, then the only thing that's left is my own life and the ones who love to dance or sing or play or whatever it may be. Again, I don't mean to be trite about it and bring it back to something. Um, what I'm seeing in your messages, Marcus, is that there are those moments when you're connected, and that's where the truth is. Let's say it that way.
Thank you. So we have a question from Irem, I think so. Why do you think we dread being our authentic self so much?
What was the first part? Why do we
Dread being our authentic self.
dread?
Mhm. Dread?
Dread. Ah, okay, yeah. Why do you think we dread? Ah, interesting word, the choice of words. Why do we
Yes.
dread to be? It's funny because when I was saying something like about that, I was like, I don't want to say afraid or resist. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but yeah, like the choice of word is interesting. Um, Well, perhaps in the case of the person asking the question, because there is the feeling of dread present where you were once your authentic self. Um, Again, I'll talk personally. Um, so yeah, so like I said, I'm a musician. I play guitar, but mostly what I do is sing. That's what I've been developing for these years, and it's a long story, but it's something deeply meaningful to me. Anyway, rewind to me being 7 years old. We're in primary school, and we're doing this project where we have to record our voice, not even singing, just talking, to make a radio advert. And we did it, and then like afterwards we were all sat together and we played them. And when it got to me, I can't remember what people said or what I said, but I can remember the feeling of utter like shame, utter like dread, like just running cold, because it's the first time I'd ever heard my voice outside of my head, right? Like I was 7, I'd never heard a recording of my voice. And the feeling I had was like, oh my God, that's what I sound like. I never want to speak again. Uh, and that also extends into anything with the voice. Um, this is just one experience. It's quite a clear one, quite a visceral one. Um, but we all have these, right? So you can look at it on that level. We all have experiences where we were testing the edges of who we are, who we want to be, what our authentic self is, and we were told directly or indirectly, or even we just had the feeling inside that no one was there to accompany us through of it's not okay to be me. Right? Probably there's a lot of healing work, healing experiences to be done about that. Um, Whether you go on retreats or medicines or do therapies or whatever you want to do, whatever you feel called to do. Um, but the deeper why, okay, this is a little bit spiritual, but whatever, I'm going to say it, is so that you can have the conscious experience from conscious in the sense that you're like self-aware, um, you have a sense of self so that you can have the experience of recovering and stepping into and then being your authentic self. If it was easy, um, it's almost like it's almost like the process of healing that and being able to, I don't want to say overcome, but just like feel that and do it anyway. It's like an act of self-love and self-valuing that is unimaginable. People say, oh, love yourself, have self-love. What does that mean? Well, here's one example. Inside, you feel a pit of dread for having your voice be listened to by others. And you know what? Do it anyway. You go out there and you express your voice, and you don't say, I don't care what anyone thinks, because probably you are. But you sit with that, feel it, and you trust and you do it anyway. And see what you find in that. And that is like the real recovering of something. So the dread, the fear, the resistance, it's part of what makes it valuable. It's like it's the furnace that brings together the authentic, which is enriched if you could just step into it like, oh, but this stage fright, these nerves are part of what makes it uh, so worthwhile for you, but also for others as well.
Yes, of course. And something that someone said here, wait a second, where is it? Here, Simona, answer the question. Oh no, I just lost it. Oh no, here. No, no, it was not Simona. It was Marco again, and it was really interesting. He wrote like, "Welcome to Planet Hollywood," where we have to play all these roles somehow. So yes, I found it really interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, I don't know. There are not coming any more questions here. Someone else, they want to ask anything? They're more than welcome.
Yes. I'm just reading what Mark wrote as well.
If you want to say anything about that.
Mm. Yes, because what Mark is describing is a collective version of what I just said to the previous questioner, right? That okay, so we develop a form of resistance, protection, safety mechanisms around ourselves, for whatever reasons. I shared one of mine, right? But what's humanity done, right? Humanity as a collective has done the same thing, that we've taken ourselves out of nature, out of alignment with nature, and now we're so in the mind, so in the mental realm, um, that we're lost. Like humanity's authentic self, in a way, is lost. And I don't say that in like a condemnatory way or something, because it is also happening for some reason. So if you feel all you're stepping on stage and being, I say stepping on stage, right? I mean, literally, okay. But stepping out there, being yourself, and then when you finally do it and it goes deep into your bones, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is who I'm meant to be. This is everything, you know? Okay. Imagine that, but on the collective level. And that's why humanity is quote unquote like lost right now. It's the same process for all humanity, as it is one individual. And in that sense, though, you can do something about the individual process, right? You can feel the dread and process it and investigate where it comes from, and then step out there and be authentic. But none of us here can do anything about whatever the government has about aliens or, whatever, right? The collective process is just happening. But your individual process, that's where you can do something about, or something can happen. Yves, sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Um, don't worry about your basic English. You're listening to something, and this process is more about feeling it and connecting with the energy than learning something, you know. I promise you, on some level, some part of you is deeply receiving what we're sharing here. Right, and then what's this person? This is Simona, right? So Simona shares how the conditioning and education systems and society that shape us and mold, or you could say set the boundaries, and then the expectation that you're gonna conform to those. And if you don't, then you get disciplined or shouted at, punished, or excluded somehow. So you then internalize this mechanism of self-repression. No longer is someone telling you who you can and can't be. There's something internally that's telling you who you can and can't be. Um, Certainly, uh, you know, I gave an example that was about school, right? That no one told me anything. No one listened to the recording and said, "Ha, listen to his voice." That didn't happen. Maybe that has happened to someone somewhere. But I can tell you many times, teachers in school or parents or whoever told me, "Don't be like that. Don't do that." So again, you can look into it, and I'm not saying don't look into it. There's so much healing to be had from making sense of all of this, but and releasing the ways in which this is stored in the body and in stored emotions. Yes. But what I'm offering is just a slight twist on that that says, okay, but what does this mean for your life now? Because if you've been told you can't be a certain way or you can't be yourself, healing that in your past is important and probably is happening, and you've already done a lot of work on it, probably. Or you're just starting, in which case, good for you. Um, but what about your life now, right? Are you able to be yourself fully in your life right now, with the people that you care about right now, in the things that you love doing now? No, maybe. Okay. From the past, yes, but the stage is set for you now, right? It's like it's like saying if you got lost in the past trying to heal it, it's coming from the same thing. It's like seeking knowledge, but now we're not talking about whatever we were talking about. We're talking about self-knowledge. Ah, I'm this way because of that, because this person told me this. This piece of conditioning comes from that experience. All of that is true, yes. But the moments of healing, the moments of relief, come from a letting go of it all. And what did we describe here? This has this energy, this grabby, consuming energy that's trying to take you away, trying to avoid the felt sense of self in the body. Um, and so to that end, how many situations, how many moments in our past do we need to make sense of and heal before we are able to just be ourselves in our present life? There is no set number. It's different for everyone. But in the end, like, if someone you love is in front of you and you're able or less able to be more or less yourself, be careful with looking for the source of that in the past. It definitely relates to it, but there's a reason that is serving you in your life right now. And that's the thing to really look at, you know? I feel like I can't express myself to this person. Okay. What role in your life is this serving that you're not expressing this truth to this person? Rather than explaining where the repression comes from, ask yourself, what is it serving? On a simple level, because of course this is complex, we're talking about a person's emotional world here, but on a simple level, it distances me. Okay, next question. Do you want that distance? Yes or no? Then you can see what you really want. Onto the stage. Again, remembering that the nerves are always going to be there. You can't heal them away, you know?
I think we're gonna do the last question because I think it's really interesting. Do you think joining a community which caters your specific knowledge seeking helps?
Hmm. Yes. Um, hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Uh, I'll say this first. Whatever you're doing right now, Philip, is perfect. Don't worry about it. Don't doubt yourself so much. But in general, um, look, it's good to find your tribe, you know, the sense of inclusion that comes from finding a community, whether you talk about flags or planets or physics or the spiritual stuff or Jesus Christ. or ayahuasca, right? That sense of community is worth having in your life. Like, but when it becomes insular and doesn't let you explore new avenues, then there's something amiss there, right? Um, and you mentioned to have the inner work and be centered enough. I'm sure that's already there in you, Philip. But for those who are just kind of starting to get a sense of this, don't worry about what tribe you're joining. If you're drawn to it for some reason, just go with it and see what happens, right? When you see kids on the playground, they don't decide or question or speculate when they go over and ask the kids, "Hey, can I play with you?" Right? Like, they just go over and do it, right? And so if you have an interest in whatever, and it's a sincere interest, it feels real in your life, find people. But if then there is another part of you that feels like it isn't being met there, you know, find the place where it can be met. Because I'm talking about self-expression, right? And stepping onto the stage, but don't forget that that also is a relational experience, right? It's not just that I found the space inside me to take the step. It's that then when I did it, I was received with an openness. And so having that community is really, really important. Um,
Yeah. Thank you. And I think this community is really beautiful to find it in retreats. Like right now, I'm gonna say, Andy, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much for everything you shared. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do also as an organization, as an association. We offer these wonderful master classes, but we also have retreats. That's the main thing we have been doing the last 10 years. And right now we have some beautiful retreats coming up. And one of those relates to a lot what Andy was sharing about really coming into your body to really express yourself. That is beautiful. And that is with Dai. She's a dancer. She has been teaching dances for the last, I don't know how many years. And I'm gonna share in the chat right now her next appointment, like next retreats that we have with her. They are beautiful. We had a last retreat. It was in Hamburg, and it changed for so many people. I was not able to be there, but I talked with one of the participants, and he told me, my God, it changed something in me. Like I could express finally things that my mind was not able to express in words, could my body do it? So if you're interested, I really invite you to check the dates out. Maybe you like it, maybe something that is calling you. That is one of the main things we are doing right now. And we also have some beautiful, beautiful travels to the jungle. We have two this year. We have one in to Colombia and one to Peru. In Colombia, it's gonna be in July, from the 10th of July until the 22nd of July. And in Peru, it's gonna be from the 5th of September until the 19th of September. So you have enough time to see if it will be something for you. That is beautiful, because there are retreats that are only really about getting in connection with nature, with your true self, with the medicine, with facilitation. So I'm really happy. Oh, Philip, you're going. That's wonderful. Really, really awesome that you're coming. So I'm really excited. Like, if you want to come, you're more than welcome to come. You can find all the information in the links I already sent you. Um, so yes, we do retreats all around the world, the Europe, not the world, but all around Europe. We're in many countries, so maybe you have find a date that will work for you, that you say, yes, I want to explore this a little bit deeper, not only what Andy was sharing, but how it feels for me when I take the medicine, when I am with a beautiful community, when I'm integrating what is happening. I really invite you just to go and check it out. And also, because you were here tonight, I'm gonna send you a link. So if you decide to come to a beautiful retreat, you can use this link to get a code um, um, discount in our retreat. So you get a code and you get a discount, exactly. So Yes, that's it from outside. I'm really, really happy that you were here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, if you have any questions, if you wanna share anything, our WhatsApp community is there. You can talk with our admins, you can write me, you can send me a message. I'm always here. Yes, it will be recorded. We're gonna send maybe tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow is Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow in the afternoon we're gonna send a little WhatsApp message, and then you can see all the recordings. We also have a playlist. Let me see if I find it right now, where all the last master classes have been. So you can also check that out. That's beautiful also. So let me see, give me a second for, yes, I have them here. Okay. So here you can see the past classes also. So that's from our part. And do you want to say something like a little goodbye or?
Sure, yes. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it because, as I mentioned, this work is a stage for me. And given what I shared about my voice, it might be interesting for you to reflect on the fact that I'm here giving a master class and blah, 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 right? There was probably a time in my life where I doubted I would do this or could do it, while probably also secretly wanting it. And what I'm doing at the retreats, well, what I hope I'm doing, what I think I'm doing, what I see that I'm doing, is kind of just showing people like this happened to me and I'm not special and you're here too. So good for you, you know. But I do appreciate you guys being here and thank you, Magda, for your support and co-hosting. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andy. Thank you for everyone that was here. Like I said, we're gonna send a WhatsApp. You already have our number, my number. You already have it. So if you have any questions, you can write it. You can, yes, keep in contact with us. I'm really happy to see you maybe in a retreat, maybe in our next master class is gonna be in 2 weeks. So let's see what happens. Thank you so much, and wish you a wonderful evening, all of you. So, bye bye.